Shalom. Before I get started, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Call Halal, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the elders apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well, and who are the true leaders of Israel today, starting with Elder Pastor on down. I also like to give double honors to the head and the elder of the Man of Israel camp, the Ak Chazak, whom I teach under down here in Greenville, South Carolina. And I also would like to give another shout out to you, sincere Akim, you brothers out there that's pushing this word and this truth and all sincerity and righteousness in these last days. Alright. And also a quick shout out to you Israelite foreigners that's looking like the other heathen nations causing confusion coming back to your heritage in these last days. Alright, so y'all like to say shalom. And also, by the way, Shabbat Shalom. And pretty much, I wanted to do a lesson, all right? And pretty much, this lesson kind of inspired me, all right? And really, it's just one particular scripture that I want to hit on. Only one, It's just one scripture that, I want to land on. Because this scripture, came to my mind while, I was at the plantation. And you know what? I was like, it pretty much goes into the video that I did yesterday. All right, titled, I titled that lesson, what did I title it? The Gospel of the Day. All right, I did a Gospel of the Day on my little situation that happened. And pretty much, this scripture, came to my mind today. While I was at the plantation, I was like, I'm pretty much doing land back on the video I did yesterday, because the scripture that I'm gonna read it, I'm just go ahead and read it. This is the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 13 and verse 5. And it says, examine yourselves, whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves, how that Yahweh Shai, Hamashiach is in you, that said you be reprobates. You see? The main point I want to hit on is where it says, examine yourselves whether you be in the faith. And talking to myself first and foremost, man. I have to examine myself whether I be in the faith, man. Because the situation, like I said, where my faith was tested and I failed. I failed the test. So now I have to examine myself because apparently I didn't. And you gotta examine yourself daily in this truth, man. No matter what situation you in, you have to examine yourself, man. Matter of fact, let me do this. 2 Corinthians 13 and 5. Let's get that word. All right, examine. 2 Corinthians 13. Second Corinthians, all right. Let's get that word examine. All right. What is it? Okay, there we go. All right, this is the word for examine. It says to try whether a thing can be done. You see? To attempt, to try, make trial of, test for the purpose of ascertaining his equality or what he thinks or how he would behave himself. All right? So we must be doing this, right? We must, what it said, to try whether a thing can be done. You see? We got to see if we can do it. We got to see if we have faith. We got to see, do we believe? We got to attempt to try those things. We got to attempt to exercise those things. You see? You got to examine yourself. You got to attempt to try. Right here, it says to try or test one's faith, virtue, character by enticement to sin. We got to test our faith. We got to examine Whether we be in the faith, we got to exercise. Whether we be in the faith, we got to exercise and practice those things, man. You know? So let's go back. It says, examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith. You know, I gotta examine myself. I gotta see what I gotta do. I gotta see what I need to do to work on, strengthening in my faith. You know, I have to work on those things, man. Because if not, then I'm a reprobate at the end of the day. You see? I'll be a reprobate. So I need to examine, whether I be in the faith. Because I can't just say, oh yeah, I believe in Yahweh Shem Shai and not have faith. You know? There's days you may lack faith. You know? There's going to be days where you may lack faith, man. You may. You know? And we shouldn't be in that mindset of lacking faith. You know, speaking of myself first and foremost, man. And not only just faith, examine yourself. See if you're doing the will, doing the work. You could be lazy, not doing videos. Shit, hell, may not come to the plow. There's many different ways you may need to examine yourself, man. Being a brother, not only just having faith, but I'm just speaking to myself first and foremost, because I need to examine myself whether I be in the faith, having faith, man. But like I said, there's many other things you may need to examine, man. You may need to examine how you walking in this truth. Is you walking, all wild and carelessly, not being supplantive, just being a nigga, having one foot in and one foot out, you gotta examine those things, man. You got to see, is I'm doing this right? Am I doing that right? Am I doing enough for the Lord? Am I serving the Lord the correct way? You got to examine those things. You got to examine yourself, man. You got to see if you serving the Lord, how the Lord wants you to serve him to the best of your ability, man. So it says, examine yourself whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own self. You see? You got to prove your own self at the end of the day. You got to prove it to your own self. You got to tell yourself, you got to tell yourself, man. Brother's been saying this lately. You got to believe in yourself, man. I've been watching brothers' videos lately, different brothers' videos, and they pretty much been saying, and I've been hearing it a lot, and that's the Lord too, telling me that I need to believe in myself, man. He ain't having me watch those videos for no reason. There's a reason why he's having that saying come to me a lot. Believe in yourself. Don't believe in yourself, man. Because if you don't believe in yourself, you ain't gonna be able to do shit. You're gonna keep telling yourself, I can't do it, and you're gonna give up. You gotta believe that you can do it. What the scripture said, I can do all things through Hamashiach who strengthened me. So we gotta believe that, man. So it says, examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own self, how that Yahweh Shah Hamashiach is in you? Yeah, we got the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shah in us. So we got the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shah in us. We can do anything, man. Because like I just said, we can do anything through Hamashiach. Alright, who strengthens us. And then it says, how that Yahweh Shah Hamashiach is in you, that said you be reprobates. You see? Matter of fact, let's get that word reprobate. Alright. It says, not standing the test, not approved, properly use of metals and no. You see, right here, that which does not prove itself such as it ought, or unfit for unproved spirituous reprobate. So you basically is not fit, you know, to be in Yahweh Shem Shah. So we don't want to be known as a reprobate at the end of the day, man. So hey, going back, hey man, we gotta examine ourselves daily, man. We must. In this walk of Yahweh Shem Shah, we must examine ourselves, because this walk ain't gonna be cakewalk, man. All right, when you first came to this truth, hey, everything was peaches and cream, right? But hey, everything's not gonna be peaches and cream, man. When you really get to serving the Lord and you really get to examining yourself, you be like, oh hell no, I'm not doing this right. You know, you start to fix, you know, things you wasn't doing. It's all about fixing yourself in this truth, man. You know, because you gotta understand too, man. We the Lord's bride, brideman. You know, we the Lord's bride. You know, and when a bride get ready for the marriage, she want to make sure she look good. You see, you know, a woman gonna make sure she look good for her wedding day, right? So when we examine ourselves, we fixing things. You know, we fixing ourselves up. You know, we gotta fix ourselves, man. Before the marriage come, before Yahweh shall come and deliver us, Lord willing, Yahweh out, you know, we be delivered. But we gotta fix things, man, before we can get delivered, and before it's too goddamn late. You know, we must fix those things. We gotta exercise those things. We gotta examine. You know, we gotta see what we can do to better ourselves in this truth. Cause trust and believe, man, there's plenty of ways we could better ourselves in this ministry, man. If you say you can't, man, you tripping. You know, there's plenty of ways we could better ourselves in this walk. We can't just be continually walking in, you know, the same way we was walking. This truth is all about growth. You know, you must learn from your mistakes and grow from it. It's just like a baby, man. When a baby gonna make mistakes, a baby gonna do things because it didn't know. But then once it know, it grows from that. Like a baby, they'll touch a hot stove, and then after a while, you know, they be, oh hell no, I know not to touch that shit when it's hot. They grew from it, man. You know, because they learn from their mistakes. They examine themselves. You see, they fix that. You know, that because they was like, oh hell no, I ain't about to keep burning myself. So they fix that. They examine themselves. You know. So that's pretty much all I had. Yah Ratazah, it was edifying. The video was edifying. And I'm going to close it with giving all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rechakwadash. Double honors to the elders, apostles of Great Millstone, who rule well and teach well, and who are the true leaders of Israel today, starting with Elder Parks to on down. I also like to give double honors to the head and the elder, the man of Israel camp, the Chazak, whom I teach under down here in Greenville, South Carolina. And also, quick shout out to you, and also Shalom to you, sincere Akim. Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.